So how much importance do you place on cost of goods? Well, today we're going to go over 5 tips and a couple of exceptions that maybe will help you lay a foundation for how to approach this aspect of your eBay business. What's up, guys? So I'm Josh, Bama Jaybird, and this is Bama Jaybird Resell. So great to have you with me. And let's just jump right in to tip number 1. So the first tip, always buy as low as possible. You do not want to spend more than you have to on inventory. You cannot make a really good income off of eBay if you're always spending too close to the value of the goods that you're trying to resell. So again, buy low, buy low, buy low. Always look to buy low. That's the first step. That's the best piece of advice I can give you when it comes to cost of goods. Keep the buy price as low as possible. Now, think of it this way. The less you invest, the greater your profit potential. And if you imagine it like this, so we all, when we're buying something, have a sell price in mind, right? And so I think when it comes to our low cost of goods and buying low, we need to think about what percentage of our sell price are we willing to invest in the cost of the item that we're selling. And so I think, for most resellers, they try to keep that below 10%. There may be some of you that operate on thinner margins, but look, we're not Walmart. We're not selling millions and millions of items every year. So we can't operate on a razor thin margin and know that we're still going to make a lot of money because we're going to sell so many items. So we have to maximize that divide between the cost of goods and the selling price as much as possible in order to maximize our profits. So if you're selling an item, say for $100, if that's what you think you can sell it for, then 10% of that would be $10. So maybe $10 is what you would like to have on average, say, in every $100 you sell for. Because selling it for $100, remember, does not mean that you're going to make $100. You got to take out the cost of goods. You got to take out fees. You got to take out personal taxes like income tax, federal and state for most of you. And, when you add all that stuff up, the margin, right, the amount of money between what you initially invested and what you actually make becomes much smaller. So you've got to, again, keep that percent of the cost of goods to be as small a percentage of the final sale price as possible if you want to be able to maximize your profits. Now, tip number 2, set spending limits on your common items, okay? So for like bread and butter purchases, be careful not to overspend on those. Look, we all get excited. We all get swept up in the moment when we're outsourcing, whether it's at an estate sale, a thrift store, a garage sale, a flea market, wherever we may be. We all get swept up in the moment sometimes. And because we know something is priced really well, we'll just buy and buy and buy and buy because we know we can resell it. And I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing, but what happens to you and me both is we often end up buying so much of those bread and butter items that we don't get listed, that we begin to grow a bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger death pile. Now, look, I know you can call that death pile a money pile, and it's good to have, I believe, some amount of backstock, some amount of goods that we have accumulated through our purchases that we can always go back and list from should something happen, something change, and we're not able to source. Like back during COVID, during the pandemic, there's always something that could happen that could change things for us, and that backstock would come in handy. But we don't want to get too out of control with it. So it's good to kind of set a spending limit and keep that in mind each time you go out, that I'm not going to spend over X amount of dollars on just bread and butter items, because I don't want to have an excessive death pile that just overwhelms me and makes me feel like I will never, ever be able to work my way through it. So be careful about that. Plus, think about this. If you overinvest in everyday items that you don't get listed, you technically are going to have to count that cost, right, that you spend on those items back toward the items you are listing. So you're really, in a sense, in my mind at least, though it may not be scientific here, but in my mind, that money's transferred to the items I'm selling, driving the cost of those goods up, because I can't really count the other as profit when all it does is sit. All right, tip number 3. So establish yourself a minimum profit using either a percentage or a multiple of what you expect to sell the item for when you purchase it. So we know we want to make the maximum, right? We want to make the maximum percentage of profit or the maximum multiple. Like, it'd be great if we could always sell everything for 10 or 15 times what we have in it. That's probably not going to happen. But what we do need to have in mind is, what is the minimum that I'm willing to accept when I make this purchase? So if you are spending $5 on an item, what is the minimum that you're willing to sell it for? I would say you would do well to never go below 3 or 4 times that amount that you're spending. So 5, 15 to 20, and really I would say probably on those types of items, you may want to look at 4 to 5 times, because you get that margin so small and you have trouble even doubling your money. So, in my mind, you want to make at least a 100% profit on most things. Meaning if you've spent $5, you want to get your money back and have made at least $5 true off of that item once it is sold and all the other fees and taxes and everything comes out. So set yourself some kind of boundary. That's the minimum that you're willing to accept. Now, I do understand that sometimes if it is really high sell-through rate items and you know that you're going to be able to flip it, say, within a week or two, then you may be more willing to invest a larger percentage into the item. And again, we'll talk about this later when we talk about our exceptions, because I do have a couple of exceptions to some of these ideas that I think in the right way, applied in the right way, can be used to still increase your profits. But again, set these minimum ideas of return. So some people may say, I want a minimum of a 50% or a 70%, or maybe like I said, a 100% return. I mean, I would like to make $1 for every dollar I spend. I think that's reasonable, because out of that, I've got to, be able to do a lot of things. There's a lot of responsibilities financially, for a home. And so, if you are a small business owner, or if you're trying to do this completely full time, like some people do, you've even got to factor in things like your health insurance oftentimes, unless you have a partner or spouse that is working a job and providing that for you. So there's so many costs that we incur that have to be included in that amount that we're making. And so, like I said, to me, a minimum, right? I like to think of it, I'd like to make at least $1 for every dollar. So 100% return, or as I'm buying stuff, I would like to keep my multiple to be 5 times. That's me personally. So if I spend $10, I want to be able to sell it for $50. And some might say, well, that's unreasonable. That's not, not integrity. That's not good. That's maybe ripping people off or something like that. But guys, come on now. There's so many costs and so much associated with this, from the shipping materials, the storage, the cleaning time, our labor does count for something. So we have to have an idea in mind of what we have to make in order to really be making a decent living. I really believe that. It's so important. What percentage do we have to stay above? And stick to it. Have discipline. That's so, so important. It's real easy, again, to get swept up in the moment and to, sidestep what we have declared we're going to do. All right. Tip number 4. Don't buy just to buy. Okay. Be careful about that. Do not buy just to buy. It's so easy to buy something because it's cheap. I know, like the bins, a lot of us will go to the bins sometimes. I still go sometimes. It's not my big place to source because my bins isn't great. But I know a lot of you out there, you source at the bins regularly. And I've got a couple of thrift shops where the prices are similar to what I might would pay at the bins for some items. And so I get it. I understand it's super cheap, but we still got to be careful, because just because it's cheap doesn't always mean we should buy it. And if we're not careful, we get swept up in that idea, well, it's not costing much, so I should just buy it anyway. And then again, like I said, before long, we get a really large backstock of death pile items that we're just not excited about listing, and we can't bring ourselves to do anything with. Now, here's the other reason I say don't buy something just because it's cheap. It's just a poor business model. You have to remember that if it will not sell, or will not sell easily, or will not sell for a high enough value, then it's probably not helping you a whole lot. It's one thing to buy a lot of items at a cheap price that are going to sell for a good price, right, and make you a good profit. It's another thing to buy it just because it's cheap when it's got a super slow sell-through, or maybe not much of one at all, but we think it's cool, or it looks nice, or it's in good shape, or it's still got a tag on it, but we have no evidence from the market that we will ever be able to sell it. and therefore we're just buying it out of impulse. It's just not a good business model, guys. Be careful about it, okay? I hate to see anyone run their cost of goods up from buying items that are just never going to sell. So buying bad inventory at just super cheap prices does not make a good model for future profit. Now, number 5, never spend money you don't have. And look, this one's short, this one's simple, but really, guys, this is a principle that we really should live our life by, not just in our eBay business, but across the board. Be very careful. I think it's something that sometimes it takes all of us a long time to learn, that discipline that it takes to not overspend. And I get it, guys. Sometimes we get in situations and we have to do what we have to do, so to speak. But if we will have good discipline, we can avoid a lot of those circumstances and situations simply by choosing not to spend money we don't have. Now, we're talking about in the terms of business. Sometimes we have to choose not to source because the money's not there. We can't just source faster than we're selling items. We can't spend money faster than our business is making money. I think it's important to have a minimum account balance, and have that separate business account so that you can always know, okay, I've got X amount to do this with, that with, should something happen. And I'm going to say it one more time. Don't spend money that you don't have. Avoid it if at all possible. All right. So I said there's a couple of exceptions. So exception number 1. The first exception I would say is don't be afraid to pay up for an item if it is an item that has, a really awesome sell-through rate. Maybe it has a certain amount of rarity or desirability. And, it's something not only that you can sell quickly, but that you can sell for a really high dollar amount. And therefore, sometimes we think about maximizing profit only in terms of, did I double, triple, quadruple my money? But I've learned from watching some other resellers who have really vast knowledge in little niches that sometimes they run across items where they have to pay up. They may be paying $300 for it, but they know they can flip it for $500 in a matter of a week. And so, look, that don't seem like that's a smaller margin, but at the same time, how many $20 items do we have to sell to make, say, $100 to $125? Because let's say, and I'm keeping that low, they may make a greater profit than that off of that flip, but let's just say it's $100 to $125 total profit. That's still pretty good. I mean, I've got to sell a lot of items at 20 and 25 bucks to get to $125 profit, probably like 6 or 7 items. So if I can flip one item and I have the capital to do it, again, don't spend money you don't have, but if you've got enough capital in reserve to be able to make those moves when you see them. And guys, look, here's the thing. You better know. Don't guess at this type of stuff. You better know, or you'll wind up with these really cool objects sitting on your shelf that you've got $100, $200, $300 in, and they're not going anywhere. You're just stuck with them. Say, well, they're worth a lot of money. Well, congratulations, but that money's out of your account, and it's not putting any money back into it. So you want to be careful. Again, make sure you know that it is a good purchase. But sometimes you can spend and pay up on an item, and even though, say, you may pay $500, but if you can sell it for $8, you're still going to make a couple $100, and that's a pretty good profit to make off of an item in terms of just dollars. Maybe not in percents, maybe not in multiples, but in terms of dollars. So there are exceptions. Exception number 2, be prepared for bulk buys. That's one of the reasons why I said you need to have, I think you need to keep a minimum amount in your account. Like you need to have some boundary set, like I won't go below this amount. I want to operate above this amount. Maybe those are 2 different numbers. Maybe I won't go below 5,000, but I want to operate above 6 or 7,000, and I only want to spend when I'm above that on inventory because I want to maintain a little cushion between my bottom number in case a big buyout comes along. Because you may need $1,000 all at once or $1,500, all at one time to be able to go and buy this awesome collection that you can make, $2,000 or $3,000 or $4,000 on by spending $1,000 today. And, if you have that opportunity from time to time, you need to be able to pounce on it. If you're going to really scale up your business, that's one of the best ways to do it, is to look for larger buys where you can buy bulk amounts of good inventory that sells for a higher dollar value. That is so important. So always try to be prepared for the bulk buy. And in those circumstances, you have to sometimes, step out of your comfort zone on spending. But as a general rule, those first 5 tips, I think, are a good foundation to help guide you in the decision-making process of, number one, whether or not a purchase is a good purchase in terms of the cost of goods versus its sale value, and number two, whether or not it's a good time to be buying a particular item, whether you should or should not be buying at that time at all. So make sure you have a plan. That's the biggest thing. I would say, it's so easy to just live each day, right? Just to kind of go at things and not even really think about them. And I may be guilty sometimes of overanalyzing and overthinking, right? I'm really bad about that. But I'm telling you, if we can't find a sweet spot somewhere in between, we will make mistakes on both ends. I'll think myself out of making the right decision maybe sometimes. And some of you may be different than me. Y'all may be more impulsive. And so y'all get yourself in trouble by not thinking enough. So somewhere in the middle there, guys, there's a place for us to meet and us to find, a good roadmap for how to operate our business in terms of cost of goods versus profit when we are trying to make a decision on what to purchase and resell. All right, guys, so that's all I got for you on the topic. We do have some what sold. If you've enjoyed the video so far, guys, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, hit that subscribe button. Doesn't cost you a thing. You can also ring the notification bell if you like this video and would like to hear more talk about reselling in the future from me. Then go ahead and do that. And guys, again, thank you for sticking with me this far. Let's take a look at what sold. All right, guys, so let's jump on into the what sold portion of the video, and we'll get to our first item, which is a Nintendo DS game. This is Dungeon Raiders, and it sold for $3 plus shipping. Not very much on that one. Kind of laughable, really, but you got to take what you can get. I'm glad to see it sell. Ideally, just real quick note, it's good to lot 2 or 3 of those together, maybe 4. When they're low value games like that, and sell them for like $12, $15. But I'll take the $3 plus ship on that one. Then I have a Beach Boys DVD from my big music buyout. This is the Beach Boys at 50. This is still new and sealed, and this sold for $10.79 plus shipping. Next item I have going out, a Nintendo 64 cartridge. This is an old movie gallery cartridge, but this is Monster Truck Madness 64. A decent little game, and this sold for $10.19 plus shipping. All right, the next item I have going out is a North Face button-down shirt. This is just cotton, but it's almost like a linen material. It's really nice, like a white with the black plaid. And this shirt sold for $11 plus shipping. So 11 plus shipping is probably not much, it doesn't seem like, for something North Face. I find that sometimes the button downs don't sell as well as some of the other items. Again, as long as you get things cheap, it matters. That's why, buying low, as I've already said and talked about, is so important. Buy as low as possible. Like on that shirt, I think I've got like $3 in that shirt, $2 or $3. I didn't spend very much on it. So even though I only sold it for 11, the profit margin is still pretty good. That's like, 4 times, 5 times what I spent on the shirt. And then, of course, when we're looking at the other items, I didn't mention these, but, the game, I didn't have anything in. It was a throw-in, the DS game. The Nintendo 64 cartridge, I probably have like $1 in that. And then the Beach Boys at 50, that was like a quarter or 30 cents. So the percentage that I'm making on those is really high, and that's so important again. All right, next item I have going out is another DVD. This is Waylon Jennings, and it is a long time ago, the musical documentary. Again, this is from that music buyout. This one is used. It has been watched, but I sold this for $14.28 plus shipping. Next item. So I have another music item. This is Carly Simon, another music DVD. This is a Moonlight Serenade on the Queen Mary 2. And so this is new and sealed, and this item sold for $14 plus shipping. So again, those sales on that music, man, they just keep racking up and racking up. It's just been a great buy, and I expect to literally make several $1,000s off of that buy. And again, all about buying low. I got a great price quoted to me on it. I honestly didn't realize just how much was there. you know, or how much value was going to be there. You know, you never know. You never know the condition, but as I started going through it, there were so many new and sealed items and so many rare items, and the value just continues to grow the more that I go through that and list more out of that collection. So it's going to be a fantastic profit margin for me on that purchase. Now, next item, I've got several clothing items going out. You've seen the one shirt already. This is a pair of cargo shorts. You can't tell much about them. You see the pocket there. But this is a pair of Sylvain cargo shorts. Sylvain is a, you know, it's kind of like a mall brand, I guess, that you find it at department stores like Belk. But this brand is kind of, you know, pricey for their store when you buy it in the store for full price. These sold for $13 plus shipping. I gave like $2 for these and got those at my local thrift store. Those, you know, like I say, I wouldn't suggest just going out and hunting for Sylvain cargo shorts. But guys, cargo shorts sell really well. And if it's a brand that is recognizable and you get it on the cheap, again, it's all about buying low. That's one of the most important foundational ideas behind success on eBay. Don't forget that. I'll continue to harp on it through the end of this video, but buy low. Buy as cheaply as possible. That way you have more room to be competitive when you begin to price. Our next item going out is an top. This is new with tags. I pulled this out of a bin at one of my local mom and pop shops, and I paid $2.50 for this, and I sold this for $16.19 plus shipping. Now, the reason for some of the oddball numbers on these, I am running a spring sale. Various percentages off depending on how long something's been in my store. That was 10% off, you know, because it was a relatively new item from the last few months. Now, moving on, I have one more music sale. I think this is the last one I have going out on this set of items, but this is a really cool box set. I've had one other of these sell. It's shaped like the old record boxes. This is Yes, 7 years. It's got the big booklet inside of it. So you can see just kind of a cool insert that it comes with. And then also it's the 4-disc set. So they're laid flat. I just think those are cool. Thought I'd show it to you. So this is again titled, this is Yes, 7 years. It does have some spotting on it from age and maybe, I don't know if it was moisture or what. I made note of it in the listing. I took pictures, and this sold for $18 plus shipping. So another pretty good sale. Again, I have about 25 or 30 cents in each of the music items that I'm selling. So say 30 cents into $18, guys, that profit margin is just out of this world, even though it's only an $18 sale. If you could have, you know, 100 sales like that every week, you'd make a really good living. Now, next item up, I have a vintage 1980s Izod Lacoste polo shirt. It's got a chest pocket. It does have the alligator, you know, that you expect from Lacoste. But this again is kind of a 1980s. It's navy blue, and this was a large, and it sold for $17.59 plus shipping. And next item I have going out, it's another clothing item. This is an Eddie Bauer trucker jacket. This is like a beige or ivory denim. This is an extra large. Of course, it's women's. And this sold for $22.39 plus shipping. And then I have the last clothing item, which is a Faded Glory denim skirt. If you don't know about denim skirts, if you can get them cheap, again, buy low, buy low, buy low. Buy as low as possible. Always try to buy as low as possible. We're not, you know, I know there's exceptions, and I talked about those. But for the most part, guys, you've got to keep the buy cost low if you're going to be successful on eBay. Sometimes the reason your items are sitting in the store is because you feel pressured to sell at a higher price than what the market is really dictating, and that is driven by the fact that you overspent on the item to begin with. I've been there. I know how that is. You've got to be careful. Do not overpay. It's better to leave items setting than to overpay for them. So remember that. Okay, I know I've said some of these things already, but I just want to really push that home. Make sure you don't overpay. Buy low, buy low, buy low, okay? So denim skirts, though, they do pretty good. If you can get them cheaply, This again is just a Faded Glory. That's a Walmart brand, but it is the longer skirt. Sometimes they call these a modesty skirt if they go down like, you know, midway of the shin or down to the ankle. And this one sold for $16.99 plus shipping. So I will often get between about that price, $15 and $25, depending on the brand, for these longer denim skirts. And so when I see them for like $2 or $3, I tend to pick them up because they do move pretty well. And believe it or not, if you are someone who actually was to look for these in the store, they can be kind of difficult to find sometimes. Based on my wife and her looking for them and hearing from others that do the same. So a lot of people have to buy them secondhand, and I think that's why the market for those is pretty decent. Now, the last item I have going out is a set of headphones. These are Bose SoundLink. So this is the case, you know, the kind that go over your head, but these are in absolutely fantastic condition. Just really, really awesome. They do work. I've charged them up, tried them out, almost kept them. Thought they were so cool. You know, you just don't find stuff like that. It's got all the cables. They're in the pack here. And these sold pretty fast. I listed these and they sold within about 3 to 4 days. I sold these for $98.87 plus shipping. And I gave $6 for these at the Salvation Army. So, you know, you can't really beat that. I'm not sure if I said what I spent on the jacket and the shirt and the skirt, but pretty much on those items I would have paid no more than $5 on any of them. I think they were $3 to $5. Most of this stuff again comes from the same thrift stores. If you watch my videos, clothing is a common theme. I've got a thrift store where I pay $2.50. I've got, you know, of course I do buy at Goodwill sometimes, so it might be like $5.99 on some jeans or something like that, or on a shirt every now and then if it's a really good one. But for the most part, I try to buy at the same 2 or 3 places where my average cost for clothing items generally runs about $3. And that's about the most I pay the majority of the time. So anyway, great profit on these. Again, that was the best sale for this set that's going out today. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Again, don't forget, always keep that buy cost as low as possible if you want to make sure you have success on eBay. I think one of the reasons why a lot of people give up and get out of reselling and they get frustrated with the process is because they don't price their items correctly. And one of the reasons they don't price them to where they will sell is because they overspend on them. You got to be so careful. It is very, very important that you not spend too much. Buy low, buy low, buy low. Yeah, I've said that a lot. I hope it's ringing in your ear because if you've been overspending, you need to stop. I want you to be successful. I want you to be able to make money and use eBay either as a means to supplement the income you have, or if you have dreams of possibly shifting to full time, then you've got to get everything in order to where you're making the right kind of margins on your purchases so that when you resell, you're making the profit that you need in order to have that full-time income. So guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you got something out of this. This is going to be one in a series of several videos where I just give you some basic tips that I live by, that I operate by, that I think helps me to have success with eBay. And I hope they will help you. Nothing too fancy, but guys, I love you. God loves you. Don't forget that. And whatever you do, guys, don't you ever, ever give up. I will see you on the next one. Take care.